Like a chariot in the sky.
Ezekiel.
Yeah.
When you pull up the description that Ezekiel had of the wheel within a wheel, my God, it sounds like a UFO.
Yeah.
You know, and what a lot of people, I would like to talk to Tucker Carlson about this, because Tucker Carlson has this belief too. He just talked to people about this, and he thinks it's always been here, and that it's a part of existence, and that this is a part of these biblical stories of angels and devils, and that's what they're really talking about. They're talking about these interdimensional beings. Yeah, it's likely that they've always been here, and it might be connected somehow or another to our minds. The mind, which produces psychedelic chemicals, might also be a gateway to other dimensions.
Hey, Vito here. So Joe Rogan recently hosted Aaron Rodgers on his podcast, and an interesting convo was sparked between them that led them straight down the rabbit hole to the point where Joe acknowledges the need for Jesus' imminent return. But before we proceed to the video, I hope to reach 1 million subscribers before the end of this month. So I'd be grateful for your support in subscribing and hitting that bell notification down below. Truly appreciate it.
Yeah, but
yeah, it's a fucked up world we live in. We need Jesus. I think for real. Like if he came back now, it'd be great. Like Jesus, if you're thinking about coming back
right now,
now's a good time.
Yeah, pretty soon. Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised, and many Christians would take this as mockery, you know, or humor, but I think he's actually serious, right? And it's a good thing that he's requesting Jesus's imminent return. He's changing, and I'm really happy for him.
Now's a good time. We're kind of fucked.
Well, there's a lot of people that think that might be coming.
Well, it might be.
Mark of the beast.
That might be the aliens. I mean, that might be what all this stuff is. It might be we reach a certain point where we're so unmanageable and so chaotic that something comes down and gives us a guideline. I mean, this is what Moses essentially experienced, supposedly, right? When he came back with his 10 commandments. This is supposedly what, you know, these people that have had these religious visions, there's a way to follow, and there's a greater power that's above everything, that controls this whole thing and keeps it all together.
This shit matters.
Yeah.
That, you know,
it does matter.
Yeah, like everything we do matters. I think if you know, atheists, I think, can find their own religion. It might be religion of science or religion of climate change or whatever it might be, but to not believe in a higher power means that really nothing I do matters. Ultimately, I live, I die. That's it.
And that's the definition of nihilism. I came into existence. I don't know how. I don't care why. I'm just gonna live and then die. Right? I have no purpose whatsoever. Right? And I'm gonna criticize those who are trying to think critically of their existence. Yeah.
I have a hard time with that because I believe there's a seen world and an unseen world. And there's forces of good and forces of evil, and that there's a purpose for all this. And there's, you know, there's a lot of reasons why we're doing this. There's a lot of opportunities to do this. If there is the Christianity part and Jesus wants to come back and save everything,
it'd be good right around now.
Yeah. I got to think that something, I think this is going to be a crazy year. I think something, especially if it gets down to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, you know, they don't have the words to explain like what a spaceship is. It's like, no, it's like a chariot in the sky.
Ezekiel.
Yeah.
When you pull up the description that Ezekiel had of the wheel within a wheel, my God, it sounds like a UFO.
Yeah.
Because it is a interdimensional vehicle. And in Ezekiel's time, that's the best way that he could have described what he saw, by using things that he was familiar with in his time. So the eyes would be like cameras, and the wheels would be the propulsion system, right? It's just like us in our time when we see a UFO that we can't comprehend, we give it names. The spaghetti monster, the spaghetti UFO, the cigar-shaped UFO, the Oumuamua, I don't remember what it's called, right? But that's how we describe things that we don't understand. We give it descriptions that we're familiar with in our time. I see this trend circulating on social media. It's called biblically accurate angels, right? And they always use the Ezekiel depiction of what real angels look like. Guys, that's not an angel.
No, God!
It's a advanced interdimensional vehicle. That's what it is. All right.
Yeah.
You know, and what a lot of people, I would like to talk to Tucker Carlson about this, because Tucker Carlson has this belief too. He just talked to people about this, and he thinks it's always been here, and that it's a part of existence, and that this is a part of these biblical stories of angels and devils, and that's what they're really talking about. They're talking about these interdimensional beings. Yeah, it's likely that they've always been here, and it might be connected somehow or another to our minds. The mind, which produces psychedelic chemicals, might also be a gateway to other dimensions.
Yup, this is definitely spiritual, and I'm glad people are waking up to the reality of what's going on. Tucker Carlson explained it really well.
The second thing that bothers me is the UFO story. And, you know, the more you dig into that and talk to people with actual knowledge of it, again, that's another story where there are some, you know, fanciful ideas floating around that are just, you know, there's no evidence that they're true. But if you talk to people who, you know, have actual knowledge of it that they gathered themselves, there are parts of that story that I do not understand at all that are really, really, really dark. It's so dark that I, you know, haven't told my wife about it. I mean, I haven't verified any of this, but this is not just stuff that I read on the internet. I know you all are very, very grounded in that story, so I think I know, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff there that's just like, man, I'm not even sure what that means. There's a spiritual component there that I don't fully understand. So yes, that story bothers me. And I think, last thing I'll say, that one of the reasons that we've had all these disclosures and all of these, 10 whistleblowers at this point, and it hasn't really become front page news. Part of it's suppression. You know, parts of the government don't want you to know about it, but part of it is the public can't deal with it. It's too far out.
And remember, Paul reminded us that we're not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in the dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. John also reminded us here that there are demonic spirits who work miracles and go out to rulers of the world to gather them for battle against the Lord on the great day of God Almighty. These beings are not from our world. They're not from our dimension. They're not governed by our laws, the laws that keeps this realm in order. As Aleister Crowley said, today we call them angels and demons, but tomorrow we'll call them something else. And that something else is aliens.
Kind of weird stuff.
Well, that weird stuff, it used to be so easy to dismiss. But now, you know, it's the Alex Jones was right meme. Like, you realize how many times that guy's been right? Like, how is he so good at predicting all these things that are happening? Because the guy's balls deep in it all day long.
Yeah.
You could call him right now. It's like, I'm doing the documents, I'm reading the research right now, this is sick. This is what they're doing, this is the plan. I talk to him all the time. We text each other. Every time something's crazy, I'll text him, like, what is this? And he'll send me all these fucking documents.
He's talking about, I saw something he said the other day about, you know, you gotta have your shit ready in case they turn the power off, turn the water off, do something like that.
Well, there's a lot of people that think that, including me. Because if I was a foreign government and I wanted to cripple America, I would kill the power grid.
I mean, like, there has to be something that I don't know what it is.
Aliens.
I mean, yeah, it might be.
Might be the only thing.
Poor Joe. I love the fact that he just assumed that catastrophe would only be caused by foreign adversaries, when the World Economic Forum said this.
We all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. the COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison.
It might be. I mean, it's interesting to see how much has changed, in that over the last, 15 years, just how people can talk about it now without being called crazy.
Yeah.
There's some disclosure.
Mm-hmm. And the darkest theory is one that Lazar talked about. He said is something that they talked to him about when he was working on these back engineered crafts, is that what they use us as is vessels that we are souls. We hold souls, and that this is essentially a farm, and this is how they develop souls through us.
So this is what happened when you don't understand the spiritual realm. We are the host for those spiritual beings, which are demons, because the angels are separate from the demons. The demons are constantly looking for souls to possess. So it's not like we are creating souls for them or they are creating souls through us, right? No. They are the spirits that are looking for souls to inhabit, and the souls are us, humans.
And that what our soul is, I mean, if you had to imagine, what our soul is some force, something that they farm here with us. When we die, it transcends and becomes whatever they are in whatever space they exist in.
Guys, be careful of teachings like this. I see that he's trying to learn and he's getting there, right? But this is deceptive. The soul is not immortal. The soul is a complete creation. It's a complete body, right? It's the flesh, spirit, and consciousness, right? The spirit is what they are calling the soul, and stating that it is immortal. It's not immortal. The spirit is literal breath, air, right? It goes into us, the life force that the Father gave us from the beginning. When that is taken from you, you no longer exist. You're no longer operatable unless the Father gives you back that spirit.
That's what Bob said.
He's talking about it, that this is one of the crazier stories that has to do with religion that's attached to the UFO phenomenon. And Diana
Tucker's
Basalka
talked about the demonic part of it. Yeah. What did Diana say?
Well, this is what some of these people think, is that these things have always been here and they are a part of our history, and that this idea that they're coming here on these metal crafts from another planet is not necessarily the whole picture.
But don't you think
that's because it's not? They're the same beings that were around in Noah's day, going around wreaking havoc, doing a lot of experiments with the Father's creatures, right? Creating all sorts of hybrids and mutants. And now they're the same beings that are influencing our governmental leaders or world leaders, telling them that their end is imminent, and if they don't listen to them, right, they're all gonna be destroyed. They've always been here. They're the angels and demons of old.
These things actually matter. There is right and wrong. There is morality. Yeah. There is certain,
Well, unfortunately, the problem with living in a secular society and living in a society that has a lot of people that are atheists, that have no belief system at all, is you find a belief system, and that's a lot of these people that call themselves atheists, or they've subscribed to the religion of woke. Their God is equity and inclusiveness. Their God is this ideology that they think that you have to subscribe to, and that's why it's spooky. But I think as time rolls on, people are going to understand the need to have some sort of divine structure to things.
Unfortunately, they're gonna accept the wrong spiritual structure, which is a anti-Christian spiritual structure, and that's where the deception will be even greater, because they've resisted the truth, which is Jesus. All right, so I'm glad Joe is questioning these things. That's the beginning of wisdom. We need to keep praying for him because he's a huge influence, and I can't wait to see the day when he finally accepts Jesus and his public declaration through baptism. All right, so thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned.